Here now is Lisa Bell and Candace Campos with Florida Foodie. Sponsored by Light Orlando, delivering hope together.
Hello and welcome back to Florida Foodie. I'm your host, Lisa Bell.
And I'm the show's producer, Thomas Mates, in for Candace Campos. Today we're joined by a guest who's had his hand in growing two well-known Central Florida chains, and he's working on a third right now.
He makes all of us hungry every single day. He founded Gringos, Locos, Tin and Taco, and his most recent restaurant, SoDough Square. And you brought some tasty treats with us today. We are so excited to welcome Rob Bair to Florida Foodie. Thank you so much. This is amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we are glad to have you here. Now, we've talked about some of your well-known brands, Tin and Taco, Gringos, Locos. Tell us how you got started in the restaurant industry.
It's a very long story.
We've got time.
I basically started working in a restaurant right outside of high school. Started as a dishwasher in a five-star restaurant in Crested Butte, Colorado. It's called Soup's On. It's actually still there today. And we're starting off as a dishwasher. It was an enjoyment working with the executive chefs and the chefs, and they really took care of me, and I felt a sense of family. And they fed me really well, and I fell in love with the industry after that.
And you never went to formal culinary school or business school. From there, you ended up in San Diego.
So I lived with a couple other guys, a couple other great friends. One was a Calvin Klein model. I was not, and then the other one worked for the ad agency that I did. But we had no money, and there was this place called El Rodeo. It was on the Ocean Beach break wall. And you would walk in, and it was this little taqueria burrito joint. You'd walk up to the counter, and for $8, you would get a burrito that would last us breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the trick was you would throw $2 in the tip jar, and your burrito went from a 12-inch burrito to a 16-inch burrito.
Okay.
So that was what we did, and I lived off of burritos and Southern California tacos for a majority of the time there. And they were open late, and that's where my brain started kicking when I was in Orlando, and I said there's no late night option downtown Orlando outside of hot dogs and pizza, which was obviously nothing wrong with that, but I just thought that a late night concept downtown Orlando would really kick off.
And boy, did it ever.
It did.
Yes.
It did.
And then that led to Tin and Taco.
Yep. So I branched off 2016. Came up with the concept of Tin and Taco. We opened in 2017, and the rest is history.
So how did you go from tacos to pizzas?
So I'm originally from the Detroit area. I left when I was 15 years old, but I grew up on, we didn't call it Detroit style pizza. We called it, you either get a square pizza or a round pizza. Mm-hmm. And we always loved the square pizza.
And that was places like Buddy's, and there was, just a handful of those locations doing that specific style.
Sure. Buddy's, yeah. I went to 2,500 times while I was in freshman, sophomore year of high school, right around the corner. We go to places like Louis, which is one of my personal favorites. Mm-hmm. And then we had, the chain pizzerias, Cloverleaf, Jets, the bigger chains. Mm-hmm. But, we enjoyed Buddy's and Louis and Cloverleaf the best.
So in 2022, you decide to open SoDough Square, and it's Detroit-style pizza. What exactly makes it Detroit-style pizza? Is it the square?
So I'm glad that you asked that. I brought along, and this is way more than I could have ever imagined. Yes, I wanted to open up a Detroit-style pizzeria. Had the opportunity next door to SoDough, Tin and Taco. Uh-huh. I was going to turn it into a corporate office for Tin and Taco. And it used to be a Hungry Howie's.
And so just so we're clear, so people who are watching, SoDo is short for south of downtown Orlando.
Correct.
And you decide to open SoDough Square, which has nothing in SoDo, which had nothing to do with the name of the part of town where you're opening. You just liked SoDough Square.
Correct. And it's on Michigan.
Okay.
It's very confusing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Michigan Street, because you are the big Detroit fan. We see the hat. So it all works. It's like meant to be.
It works. All the stars aligned. You know, the space on Michigan became available. And, you know, I wasn't even going to do this. I wasn't going to create this concept. And during COVID, I bought a deck oven to install in my house. I have a wood-fired pizza oven, and then I have a deck oven. I basically have a test kitchen in my backyard.
Love it.
And during COVID, I really dug into this style of pizza. I've been making it for a long time, but I've never really gone down the rabbit hole, so to say.
Okay.
So I started making it for my family. And every time I would do something different, whether it's the flour, whether it's a fermentation, I did bega, poolish, sourdough starters. I literally had a lab on my countertop at all times of different, you know, variations of dough.
And this was during COVID.
This is, yeah, the beginning of COVID.
Did you also have a treadmill in said kitchen? Because I feel like when you're sampling all this pizza at your house, you know.
Yeah, it was a little heavy on the family.
Okay.
I'll never forget the time that I brought it out to my wife, and she took a bite and she said, "Whatever you just did, stop right there.
That's it.
That's it." And I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "It's perfect from the frico, which I'll get into, the crumb, everything about it is absolutely perfect." And I've flown her up to Detroit several times. She's from Kissimmee, Florida.
Okay.
So I've flown her up and I've done the Detroit style pizza tour. And I said, you have to be brutally honest with me. You know, how do I compare to other places? And I asked her, because she is brutally honest, and I ask her sometimes, you know, to dial it back, and she says, why?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be so honest with you. And she's very honest.
Yeah.
So we came back and she said, honestly, she's like, this is the best Detroit style pizza I've ever had.
Nice.
And I brought her to all the originals. I brought her to every one that is literally within a 20-mile, 30-mile span of Detroit. And that was the one. And then she's like, okay, now you have to open up a restaurant.
The secret to Rob's pizza dough formula still ahead, and the special ingredient imported to Orlando he uses to create those authentic Detroit-style hot dogs.
Going to baseball games and the coach bringing us out to National Coney Island on Mack Avenue after our games. And pizza was one thing, but there's something about the simplicity of a Coney dog that you just can't replicate.
Florida Foodie will be back in a moment with the founder of SoDough Square.
Coney dogs, Detroit style pizza, and tacos. So it's literally something for everybody.
No matter how you slice it, pizza is big business in Central Florida. After building two popular Tex-Mex chains, Robert Bair decided it was time to tap into his Midwestern roots and serve up some authentic Detroit-style pizza and hot dogs. Let's get back to the founder of SoDough Square.
I finally figured out the dough, and it's made in-house every single day. I have two guys that work around the clock, and we call them the dough bros. And we use it.
Making dough.
Yeah, we make dough. We have 5 mixers, all different kinds. I'm still playing with different mixers. I have a spiral mixer that is my favorite. I have a Hobart planetary mixer, which is just your basic hook.
Yeah. And it's amazing how even something like a mixer can make a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know you were saying before that like you have to also account for things like the weather and humidity and temperature, and
it's very temperamental.
There seems to be a lot more science and issues that go into this versus tacos.
There is. And you know, and now I'm realizing this and not regretting it.
Now that you're in it.
This is what I nerd out on this. This is
that's great.
This is my life. I nerd out on it. And it's, even with Tin and Taco, you never stop learning. And I'm always questioning, you know, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and is there a better way to do it? But yeah, like I said, the dough is made in-house. We ferment it for 24 to 48 hours, which gives the yeast time to develop. And everything inside the dough is kind of formulating and creating this really magical flavor inside the dough. It's 80% hydration, so it's really light, it's airy, it looks like it would be a heavy pizza, and people pick it up, they're amazed by it. And that's why it's the best style of pizza on the planet, is because you could eat a 4 square, go back to work, and you'd be fine.
And not need a nap. Not be in a coma for the rest of the day.
No punch to Chicago pizza, but you're not going to do that with Chicago deep dish, at least.
And you also pay very close attention to all the ingredients that you then top the pizza with, top that special dough with.
I do.
Including prioritizing your cheeses from Wisconsin. Tell us about what you brought today and where these ingredients are coming from.
So I line the pans before we press the dough in with a garlic-infused olive oil blend, which gives it another depth of flavor. The cheese, I have a machine. We shred everything in-house. So I'm sure you've been to the grocery store and you look at the package of cheese and it looks perfectly individual shreds. Well, that doesn't happen with fresh shred. They use products like cellulose, or I'm sure you've heard sawdust or whatever. To me, it doesn't give as good of a bake. Plus, it's a fresh cheese. So I take a variation of 3 different cheeses. I block shred them, and then we toss them all together. So I do an Amish white cheddar that comes in a 42-pound, the biggest cheese wheel you've ever seen. I do a whole milk mozzarella.
Where do you get that?
So that one was pretty easy to find. White cheddar is pretty readily available through 2 of my vendors.
A 40-pound wheel?
That's the only way we could find it.
Okay. And so, again, tell us what you brought today and what these are called on the menu.
So each one of the pizzas, minus this one, gets a premium fresh pack Stanislaus County tomato sauce that we blend in-house. Literally everything is made in-house. This is the Detroit Rob City.
Is this your top seller?
By far.
Okay.
By far. Visually, it's stunning. The taste is great. All of the different elements hit perfectly. We have an Iso pepperoni, which is the natural casing cup and char pepperoni, which is literally the best pepperoni on the planet. Fontanini sausage. It's light on fennel, so it's a really good balance throughout the pizza. Whipped ricotta. It has the coolness, and then we drizzle hot honey on top of it. So, I advise all of my team to get the hot honey on top of the ricotta, so you get that sweet, the savory, the spicy, everything just blends together.
And then you brought some dogs.
Yeah, so these are, another childhood memory, going to baseball games and the coach bringing us out to National Coney Island on Mack Avenue after our games. And pizza was one thing, but there's something about the simplicity of a Coney dog that you just can't replicate. And I did it because I fly the chili down from Detroit.
Nice.
So we use the same chili as Lafayette, which is, it won best hot dog in the nation. It's a regional thing. Chicago has their dog, New York has their dog. We have our dog, and it's the characteristics are the steam bun, the natural casing hot dog that has a snap, the beanless chili, the raw onion that has to be fresh, has to be white, and then the simple yellow mustard. And Anthony Bourdain, it's one of his favorites, one of his favorites, and it's the simplicity of it.
And these right now are only available at your SoDo location.
So yes, we're offering those strictly at SoDo, but I'm trying to bring them into Winter Park as well.
All right, well, we have to try some of this.
Absolutely.
Because it smells amazing. We have, is this how you serve, you brought these?
I did bring this.
So is this, you serve a dog in one of these? Is this how it works?
So the dogs will come on the
Like that.
taco stand,
Okay.
or the dog stand.
We're going to be dangerous here because I don't see any napkins, but I want to go for this.
Go for it. I think I will partake this one.
Okay.
And then the pizzas go on the screen so that air gets underneath it.
So tell us about, you have 2 locations, but you're already looking to expand for SoDo.
Currently have 2 locations, one in Winter Park that we just opened about 5 months ago, and the original location in SoDo. we're trying to open Lake Mary by the end of the year. And I've got an LOI submitted for East Orlando UCF right now.
What does that mean, LOI?
Letter of intent.
Okay.
So we've started negotiations with a landlord on a space.
This is so good. And the whipped ricotta makes it seem extra light.
Absolutely.
And I know what you mean. So if we can get a close-up of the dough, it does look very airy. You can almost see like the pockets in there. It's not a thick, dense crust.
We call that the crumb shot.
So good.
Yeah. So the Winter Park location was formerly a Tin and Taco. I heard you say you were opening up in Lake Mary. You also have a Tin and Taco location there. At any point, do you feel like you're like competing with yourself at all, or is it just so different that you think people will just go for it?
Our sales actually increased at Tin and Taco when I opened SoDo.
Okay.
I think we bring a lot of awareness to both brands. So SoDo brings people into Tin and Taco that might not know it's there, and vice versa. But the synergy between the two brands has been monumental. Under one roof, we have 100 different craft beers. We have Coney dogs, Detroit style pizza, and tacos. So it's literally something for everybody.
Do you envision yourself one day opening up a location with both? Inside, a Tin and Taco on one half and a SoDough Square on the other?
Well, that's what SoDo is essentially. So we have a communal
location.
we have a communal dining room in between the two concepts. Lake Mary will be identical to that with way more seating. So Lake Mary will be inside Tin and Taco with a full bar, about 300 seats, indoor outdoor patio, and we're gonna rock and roll.
What about beyond Central Florida?
Yes and no. I love the the boutique style. We do an artisan pizza, and I love having the control of keeping consistency and the quality. And unless I can control both of those things, which is the utmost important thing to me, we'll keep it in Central Florida. But I'm confident that there are operators out there that can help.
How do you juggle it all? Being a dad of 2 young kids, operating all of these different concepts in restaurants.
Mainly wine. We drink our fair share of wine, and I've got a fantastic team. I wouldn't be able to do any of it without them. They're considered my family. I spend more time with them than I do my actual family. So we communicate constantly. And my wife is I think she's my number one fan.
But in top 10.
I'll take top 10. She has my back, and she's my best friend, and she's there to support me, and she helps me out with the kids while I'm out slinging pizzas and tacos and going to expos. Yeah,
I have to imagine with all these businesses, you actually do have to spend a fair amount of time yourself in the kitchen these days still.
I'm always doing something for the business, whether it's at home, whether it's on site, whether whatever it is. I'm only there to make it better and consistent.
This honey is definitely the sweet sauce. It is off the chain. This is so delicious. I've never had a Detroit style pizza before. So This is wonderful, yeah. And I'm sad about the next time I try one because I feel like it's not going to be as good. Thank you so much, Rob Bair, for joining us today on Florida Foodie. This was fantastic.
Delicious.
And can't wait to come and visit you again soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me, and appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for watching another episode of Florida Foodie. It's a show you'll only see on News 6 and News 6 Plus. Download the app for your smart TV and discover dozens of local restaurants and food trucks and get the stories behind the hard-working chefs determined to bring good food to Florida.
That's something that's really fun, is being able to expose people to Filipino dishes maybe they did not have growing up, or different versions of it. One of the dishes we serve is mushroom adobo. When I bring this dish to a table, I always say, this is one of the national dishes of the Philippines, but there's as many types of adobo as there are islands or as there are mothers, because everyone's mama makes it a little bit different.